Hello the guys, Hip here, just Hip. I decided I'd do a video for multiple reasons, but for the main reason is to do, a deck discussion over the current ban list, and also to kind of give you guys a face of what I look like, because you guys only hear my voice, so you never see anything else about me. I just want to go out and say that I don't play, like, the legitimate meta. I've never, like, ran a meta deck. So with that being said, my credibility and the references for decks I am going to talk about in my banlist discussion is weird. First things first, there was nothing banned in this format for the October. Woo! Halloween. I'm just gonna jump straight to limited. First we got Soul Charge hit down to 1, which I wasn't very surprised that was gonna happen. There was a lot of speculations going around, and the first one was talking about how, like, they'll bring Solemn Judgment to 1 to make it so people can't use Soul Charge in multiples. And I'm just like, or they can just limit Soul Charge. Usually people, when you were dueling, you never used Soul Charge more than twice per duel. It was literally just the fact that it was easier to draw into it if you ran 3 copies. Because if you got activated 1 and dropped 3,000 life points to just, like, spam stuff back, you were kind of set. Next, Super Poly to 1. Okay, so there was a lot of, like, people arguing about this, and I just kind of, like, wanted to explain, like, why I think that Super Poly went to 1. Everyone's just like, oh, Shadows, and everybody's all saying, like, Winda and Construct and all the other ones that are coming out in the next pack. Super Poly existed before them, and Super Poly was used for heroes, and that's the point. We're getting more heroes later on, so therefore that Super Poly is just gonna be better. So with Shadows being brand new, I wasn't expecting them to hit any of the Shadows, so it makes total sense that they hit Super Poly, which is the card that they used to really mess up other people's plays. It's like Monarch Storm 4th except for fusions. Next that is newly limited, Glow Up Bulb. I'm so happy about that. I've never actually used Glow Up Bulb ever. I know it's broken because it's gotten used on me a lot, and like I feel as if nowadays, and with like the game kind of like having 3 paths of dueling, which is like synchros, exes, and fusions, with like the trifecta of meta game right now, I'm really happy to see Glow Up Bulb back, because it's a really tricky card and it really messes with a lot of people. Because you can use it as, like, for the various plays, you can make it a wall, you can make it like discard fodder, whatever. You have a tuner engrave that's active that you can use whenever you need to make the play. And even having like a level 5 monster, pitching a card off top of your deck and going to a level 6 Goyo, why not? Level 7 Black Rose, why not? Stardust, hey, like, it's great. Going off of that, they completely unlimited Formula Synchron, which I will touch on in a second. Another card that got completely limited that I am so glad that got limited, Infernity Archfiend. I haven't really had to deal with Infernities all too much. I know the loop, and I have like seen it happen, and I felt really bad for them. Yeah, Archfiend kind of does need to get hit, but at the same time, I feel as if knocking it down to 1 was a little bit overkill. They already hit down their Solemn to 1, like, beforehand, and now they're knocking out in the main Searcher, so it's like, it really messes the deck. I understand what Black Wings feel like when Gale and Black Whirlwind were hit down to 1, so, whatever. And then lastly, for the limited, it's Raigeki came back. Raigeki came back from the grave. I expected so many other things to come back before Raigeki would ever come back. But it makes total sense when you start looking at the meta. You're dealing with Stellar Knights, and their Exes, all when they're removed from the field, they drop something else. Yang Zings, every single time one of them is destroyed, they drop something else. And Shadows, when they're disintegrated by card effects, they do something else. And the Fusions, when they're removed from field by card effect, they bring back the Fusion back. Either that, or it'd be like Winda, who isn't destroyed by card effects at all. So, like, Raigeki against the current meta does nothing. especially with pendulums in the game, because if you knock out a whole bunch of pendulum cards with Regeki, they go right back to the extra deck, and then next turn, hey, haha, that card was useless. It's like Dark Hole, except now it's not working that much anymore. That's what I have to say about Regeki. I am happy that's Glad, though it's a really nice field balancer, and it can like set an OTK play if you're playing it right. But it did like, that's one of those type of cards that beforehand we saw was broken, but now with the game changing, it's not as bad, which I think is good. Going to semi-limited area, I'm only going to talk about the two, like one or two cards that I actually think are notable that are semi-limited, because Gores is not a surprise to me, and Ceasefire is really not that noticeable to me. Gil the Whirlwind's back at 2, and that one's kind of cool to have back. I like it back at 2 only because it gives Blackwings a slight fighting chance, because they've been faced by the ban list for the past years. So I think it's kind of nice that, like, you know, they can slowly come back. They got that cool Black Thunder card. The card, they're like, I don't know, I can't remember what it's called. They got that back, which helps them. But at the same time, it's like, okay, maybe they can go somewhere with this. Ceasefire back at 2 is weird. It's a nice burn card. It's like Magic Cylinder. We didn't need it to come back, but it's okay that it's back. And with it at 2, I can see it being very helpful as a good side decking card against Shaddolls. I personally used Ceasefire when I ran Dustin, because you would just like drop the whole field and then Ceasefire and burn for like 4,000, which is awesome. So doing that twice, yeah, see where I'm going with this? Yeah, game. I feel as if it's still not gonna be one of those cards that people are like, oh my god, let's toss this in every deck. So I don't see it as a major thing. Same with Transmigration Prophecy. It just puts 2 cards back into deck. You don't see that being used very often. I don't see it as like a game-breaking card. And then the new stuff that became unlimited, Magician of Faith, no one used that except for Prophecies. Coach Soldier Wolfbark is back at 3, which is really interesting because it makes it kind of makes Fire Fist decks a little bit more into the game and a little bit like back into the meta, which is interesting because that means that we have a more diverse like pool of decks in the meta for this format, which I like seeing. Reinforcements of the Army at 3, which that didn't need to happen. We have Heroes are going to be coming back, so Rhoda at 3 they don't need it. And then on top of that, Rhoda at 3 helps Stellar Knights, which I am still under the conspiracy that Konami and TCG is like under this idea of shipping Stellar Knights to be tier 0 at all times. Hence why Rhoda came back to 2 right before they were released. So with them at 3, I think they're just trying to make Stellar Knights more relevant and making them like that archetype. And then the last thing that came unlimited was Formula Synchron, which I'm okay with it coming back. I really think the only reason it came back to 3 is because Quasar is getting a reprint, so it will be a lot easier to drop that Quasar that you get from that nice special edition collection pack. Thanks, Konami. And so thank you, God, for giving us Formula Synchron back at 3. That's really all I have to say about the ban list. The notable things I'm happy about is Glow Up Bulb and Regeki. Maybe Ceasefire, only because I like Ceasefire. Other than that, I feel as if the changes that were made were just like changes that don't really affect the game. So therefore, they're okay that they came back. I do want to see how the rest of this format plays out, because I think it'll be kind of interesting. People will start making combos with those cards that came back, and all around, I think it'll end up being a really good format. That's all I have to say. Thank you guys very much for watching. You can go ahead and subscribe or try to watch some other videos if you'd like. I'd be totally okay with that. If not, you don't have to. That's fine. My life will go on. I just really like it. But that'll be it. Logging out. Hip1 here.